Hi, my strangers and friends and odds and ends. It's your tour guide to the horror side, me, Preston E. And on this video, we'll have a look at the latest chapter in the Strangers franchise, The Strangers, Chapter 1. The Strangers is an interesting franchise as the original came out in 2008 with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman as the leads. It all took place in a remote getaway after Liv's character Kristen turns down Scott Speedman's character James Hoyt's marriage proposal. The two are terrorized by three masked maniacs, Dollface, Pinup Girl, and Man in Mask. Fast forward to 2018. That's right, we wouldn't get a sequel till 10 years later when The Strangers Prey at Night came out. This one sees a family of four road tripping to a trailer park where the trio of terror terrorizes them as well. This one would star Christina Hendricks, Bailey Madison, Martin Henderson, and Louis Pullman as a mother, a father, and their two teen children. Fast forward yet again 6 years now for the next sequel, The Strangers Chapter 1, which we will talk about here. Thankfully, they didn't make us wait another decade. This particular movie stars Madeline Petch as Maya, who along with her boyfriend Ryan, played by Froy Gutierrez, road trip to Oregon on their way from California to Portland. On their way to Portland, their car breaks down as they are eating in a small-town diner in Venus, Oregon. The two of them wind up staying in an Airbnb about 5 miles out of Venus in a secluded wooded area. Ryan takes the owner of the Airbnb's motorcycle and goes to get his inhaler, which he left in the car back in Venus near the diner. There, a mechanic who agreed to work on his car earlier thinks he's a car thief and almost wallops him. Ryan then goes to pick up food for his girlfriend and himself at a late-night lunch truck. While this is all going on, Maya is back at the Airbnb getting tormented by Dollface, who was asking her and Ryan earlier if Tamra was home, like she did in the other two flicks. Dollface comes back to stalk Maya along with her friends, Pinup Girl and Man in Mask. Man in Mask this time, interestingly, gets an upgrade and is named Scarecrow in the end credits, like he's some sort of Batman villain or a brainless travel companion this time. Either way, it fits with the burlap mask and it gives him a somewhat more original moniker. Interesting side note, Dollface is not the blonde with the long, gorgeous locks we've seen her to be in the previous two films. She has either cut her hair or has it tied up under the ski hat. Either way, it gives her a more rugged look this time. If you watch the original Strangers, then this movie closely follows the same beats as that film. A couple goes to a remote area to stay the night for such and such reason. The couple is stalked by a menacing teen girl looking for a woman named Tamra. The guy leaves on an errand while his girlfriend stays back to get further terrorized by all three strangers. Guy comes back from the errand to comfort his girlfriend only to get terrorized by the masked menaces himself. Furthermore, Guy shoots a person he thought was one of the strangers only to find out it was an innocent person in the wrong place at the wrong time. In the original, it was Speedman's best bud who came to pick him up who got shot, some friend. In this movie, it is the owner of the Airbnb who is accidentally shot and killed. Worst tenants ever. Much like the original, the two lovers are finally tied up and stabbed by the fiendish masked trio and are left for dead as the three masked maniacs flee. While the original ends on the two boys passing out religious pamphlets, this one ends with Maya in the hospital in a to-be-continued plastering on the screen as it fades to black. That's right, we're going to get a sequel to this prequel, and not just that, but we're going to get another sequel to that sequel as well. And you don't have to wait another 6 to 10 years though, friends. Chapter 2 should be around late August, while Chapter 3 will be darkening the theater's doors around Halloween. Quite the change of pace from the way these previous two bad boys came out, huh? While this film followed many similar beats of the original movie, it still has some interesting new elements to it, such as giving us a list of possible suspects in the town who might be the strangers, kind of like a Scooby-Doo-esque whodunit. I picked the young waitress, the greasy old mechanic, and the old crabby waitress. Either that or I pick Old Man Smithers, Aggie Wilkins, and Professor Hyde White. Zoinks! Or it's possible it's three people we've never seen before. I prefer the anonymous nature of the strangers where we don't know who they are nor do we know their motives. That makes it much creepier to me. However, we may or may not find out who they are or their motives in the sequels. We get two similar boys passing out religious pamphlets like the first movie, and the town of Venus in general seems to have a religious edge to it. One cook tries to pass a religious pamphlet to Ryan, and some patrons at the diner and the staff rag on Ryan for dating Maya for 5 years and not putting a ring on her finger. He does propose to her right before they both get stabbed by the strangers, and Maya says yes. Well, better late than never, I suppose. The movie also gives nice nods to the original film, as Sprout and the Bean by Joanna Newsom is briefly played, and even the almost heart-shaped hole in the vehicle window looks similar as it did in the original. The old Ford truck the strangers drive is back too. Pin-up Girl and Scarecrow show a bit of a romantic tendency here, albeit briefly, as she puts her head into his chest and sways to the music. Oh, isn't that sweet? It's nice they take time to be romantic, all in the midst of all that bloody murder. This almost gives you a feel of a mom and a dad and their teen daughter doing these killings. Sure, it's bad they are killing people, but at least they are doing it together as a family. It's family time in some perverse way, anyway. The film further tributes the original's tension pacing and occasionally goes for the misdirection jump scares as your focus is on one direction while the villain pops up quickly in another direction. There is some gruesome foreshadowing while Ryan's ketchup from his burger drips red, as does an animal's carcass drip blood hanging like a perverse chandelier from above the dining table. Ryan's ketchup-stained mouth also foreshadows the blood that would come out of his mouth after being stabbed. That's some delicious tomato-tasty symbolism. Yummy! The famous line from the original, "Because you were home," is slightly altered here as Maya asks, "Why are you doing this to us?" only to have Pin-Up Girl say, "Because you were here." In the previous two films, Dollface answered these questions, as she said, "Why not?" in Pray at Night. Pin-Up Girl seems to be focused on a bit more in this film. As Scarecrow, it's still weird for me to call Man in the Mask that, rescues her from almost getting killed by Ryan. Pin-Up Girl's chilling screams prior to this is nice and creepy. The atmosphere of the foggy woods adds a nice element in the outdoor hide-and-chase scene through the woods. As always, the strangers play with their victims in a very cat-and-mouse sort of way, and I like the touches of slight nods to other horrors like The Shining as Scarecrow axes his way through a door. He doesn't get a line like, "Here's Johnny," though. He just sort of stands there awkwardly as he never talks. I crack myself up, however, imagining he'd say, "Here's Jimmy," instead. Oh well, I'm a silly goose. Maya is sillier at first, though, as she does all the stuff that normally gets a person killed in horror movies, like roaming around in her panties outside all vulnerable-like, taking a shower all psycho-like in a scene where Scarecrow stalks her, and running upstairs where there's no easy escape to get away from the villains. She does smartly hide in the leaves later in the movie, though, so all is forgiven, Maya. I can't stay upset with you. I like redheads anyway. Boy, did I say this was going to be a quick review? Looks like I lied. I'm not going to bash this movie hard or praise it heavy until we see its further connections in Chapter 2 and 3 later this year. Sure, it feels a bit formulaic at times and a bit slow in pacing at first, but I still enjoyed its many nods to the original. Well, that about does it for me. Please like, sub, and share. I've been Preston E. Garrison, and for the love of everything that is good and holy, is Tamara here.